after watching the tape last night and this morning and meeting with the team and staff and all those things, feel pretty similar to how I did after the game. Is we played 3 quarters of really good defensive football, and had a chance to be in the game. And then I think again our biggest issue thus far has been we've not made plays late in the game, or given plays up. We throw another interception in the fourth quarter that kind of blows the game open at the end, which is disappointing. But there's a lot of things that we got to get fixed. We're not where we want to be right now. I've been disappointed with the start, been disappointed with the totality of our play, and there's a lot of things that we got to get better at. But I like the way our team attacks it. We work at it. We just got to get those things to carry over to Sunday.
Was that 2nd and 32 conversion, was that kind of where things broke defensively for you guys?
That's a big play to give up. We get them all the way back to 2nd and 23, and you hope to make it another, at minimum a 3rd and 15 plus, and get the ball back with pretty good field position. Where they were backed up enough to where that field wasn't going to flip the same way it would if they were, in the 45-ish, 50-ish range, and that's usually how you can set yourself up for some success offensively. So giving that up was a big play in the game, and those are the down and distances that you work really hard to get teams into, where you can get them way behind the sticks, and to not take advantage of that was disappointing.
Are there some ways, Brian, I guess obviously 0-4, the numbers aren't great for you guys. Are there some ways that you can point to any improvement either from the end of last season or from the first game of this season? Any areas that you can say, we think we're better in these areas?
Yeah, there's things that are better. I mean, that's hard in the moment being 0-4 and trying to show a lot of things that are positive. Yes, there's things that are better. I do think we're running the ball well. I think we need more of it, but I think we're running the ball well. There's been some really good things defensively, just not consistent enough over the course of a game to be able to point to that and say that's good enough. I hesitate to say anything at this moment is where we want to be, because we're 0-4 and haven't played a brand of football that would allow us to win a game. So there's definitely things that I see that are encouraging, but we got to do more of it and more of it more often.
You haven't gotten the opportunity to step back, not call the plays. What did you gain on game day from doing that yesterday?
Yeah, it was unique. That was a weird feeling for me, but there definitely was. It was clearer on a lot of, just in terms of there's not that much going on. I just do a lot of listening on both sides and just making sure we're paying attention to where we are situationally and the things that are coming up or could be coming up. I did go try to spend more time talking to the players over the course of the game, so it was trying to find out where I'd fit in like that. That was different. Again, I've only known calling games, as the head coach, so it was a unique experience. Again, I don't know if it was good or bad or not, but it was different, and I felt like there was some positives from it, though.
Potentially get Spears back in the mix this week?
That's potentially, yeah. I think we're going to activate him, open up his window. It's a 21-day window he has to get elevated back to the active roster. He's done really well in the course of, especially last week. Some of the workouts and stuff looked really, really good. He'd be a nice addition to get back on the field for us. I'd be pleased to see him back. It'd help Tony out a bit too, because Tony's doing a phenomenal job for us. It'd be nice to get him somebody to complement that.
How do you describe what Cam's going through right now? Do you see him as stagnating, regressing at all, or is it just kind of rookie has to take some lumps?
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to put a regression tag on 4 starts. I think that would be tough. I think he's learning every time he goes out there. I thought there was some really incredible moments over the second half of the Indy game with the amount of things that he saw, how he responded to them, the management of it, knowing where the answers are, understanding how to protect himself, understanding where the ball needs to go. I think there's definitely something he's got to keep improving. There's always the timing and accuracy portion of the passing game tied in with the footwork that are all kind of things we continue to work on. It's hard to play quarterback in the NFL, and he's had to learn some tough lessons, I think. But he's also incredibly willing and incredibly passionate about trying to do things the way that you need to do it. He's understanding what it takes to play NFL quarterback. And again, through 4 games, he's seen a lot of different things in 4 games. the schemes, the rushers, the style, the defenses that we played, all very different, all very good, and he's only going to get better every time he sees those things.
You talk about the timing. Does it have more to do with getting the ball out or timing with receivers? Where is the timing right now?
It's all of that, and some of it's depending on the play. It's not a one time thing or an all the time thing. There's spots where within a concept of just understanding when to move on, how quick to move on, where to progress, what's the next thing, and how fast does that have to happen. So all of those things are things that it's constantly going to be coached, and you don't just arrive in the NFL a perfect product like that. And but man, he puts the time into it. He works at it, and he understands it. And now it's just to continue to build on the things that he's done well and to keep stacking that stuff.
Yesterday, it felt like yesterday his accuracy and then ball security was a little off from previous weeks. Do you have to guard against that when you're not scoring points against an offense, you're not winning games, that a young quarterback in particular tries to do too much and do it all on himself?
I think that's a great way to put it. You always that's a lot of players. It's a lot of players that know they can be really impactful in games, and they get into moments where they feel like they need to do something other than what's asked of the job. Whatever that coverage or play or what's asked of them to do in that particular down. You always have to be mindful of that, and especially at the quarterback position, because you do feel at that spot some pressure to do more when really that's not what we need, from a down basis from Cam. We just need him to do his part as one of the 11 guys in the field, and again, got to do things around him better too. But you always want to be careful of trying to do too much. It's usually when bad things happen, when you try to make a bigger play or a more exciting play because you think you have to.
You just gave up play calling. In light of the results you're getting, is there any inclination to do anything else that would qualify as a shake-up more for the player?
Are you talking about like people's roles and playing time in that? Is that what you're referring to, or is it?
Or anything?
I think what we need, when you're 0-4, sort of everything is always on the table to try to improve and find a place to win. I do think when you sit back and you just say that, everything's great, I mean, it's not. We're 0-4, and we got to do some things better, and we got to do them different if that's the case. And so nothing imminent, to answer the actual question, nothing imminent in change, but those are always things we're evaluating and looking at. And if there's a place where we can do better and put ourselves in a better spot, then we'll have to do that.
As part of the misfires in the passing game, are the receivers winning their battles enough, and are they winning them on time to help him out?
Yeah, there's been moments where they have, and then moments where we haven't. I think it's always an up and down. There's been really nice moments of wins that we've connected on some. There's been some wins that maybe we missed the throw. And then there's times where we haven't won, and we got to do a better job of that too. I think the general consistency from top to bottom in the passing game, we're still working to improve every day.
Snaps were down for Calvin yesterday. Was that health related or?
Yeah, he was fighting through. He was fighting through it yesterday. Nothing serious, but just those things that happen. Especially guys that run when they get banged up a little bit, they sometimes can't take the normal volume that they've taken before. So he was battling. He battled his tail off yesterday, but certainly was feeling some nicks and bruises.
Was that in the game or leading up to it?
In the game, yeah.
Fair or unfair, Brian, to characterize this team as regressed from week 1 to week 4?
I think all the games have been different for varying reasons. I think regression is again, 4 games is tough to nail a regression when you've lost them all. I think we've done some really good things in all of the games that we've played. We've just got to find a way to do those things for the entirety of the game, and then make the plays that help us win the game in the fourth quarter, which is really where all these games have gotten away from us in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's a turnover, it's missed tackles, it's a big run. Those types of things have put some games out of reach that we felt really good about. Heading into that fourth quarter, it felt like we were dancing toe to toe with some of these teams, and we didn't do the things for the last 15 minutes or 12 minutes that we needed to do to win the game.
We've never really seen Cam get animated until maybe yesterday in the post-game presser and the way he characterized the team. How do you feel about that? And I mean, is it a good thing for him to set that tone as the quarterback? I
think what everyone is learning about Cam is that he cares a tremendous amount. is really important to him. He wants to win football games. He wants to deliver winning performances for our organization, for our fans. That's what he cares about. There's nothing else that he has any interest in other than playing football and trying to play football at a high level. And those responses, for him, that he wears his emotions a little bit out there, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because at the end of the day, I know where it's coming from, and I know why he's the way he is in those moments, is because he wants nothing more than to play well and win.
You said last week about the challenges of leadership at 0-4. What's the key to getting the guys to still buy in and still believe that do what we say, and we'll be on the other side of the ledger?
Well, you keep showing them. You show where things are good, and there's a lot of that. You show where we have to be better, and there's plenty of that. And you're honest about it. You tell the truth, and you fix what you as many things as you can fix in the short amount of time as you can possibly fix them, and you keep pushing forward. And we got the right kind of guys. They got the right makeup. They understand. They're pros, and that's how this business can be sometimes. Is it can be challenging, and you have to play the next play is the best way to put it. And you have to play the next week, and you play the next game, and you have to do everything you can to fix your issues, and you work really hard at that, and you hope that it shows up sooner than later. But we're backs up against the wall a bit, and you have to ball your fist up and fight your way out. There's really not much else you can do.
How much of that has to be player-led? How much of that has to be player-led, Brian?
I think all the best teams I've ever been on have a really strong player leadership, and I've been really pleased, on the growth in that area from top to bottom. Again, not something that I can point to and say, see, that's not the case, but I know it because I'm around it every day. But the player-led teams are usually the best ones, and the ones that can win the most games are when you have the ability of your team to put the players in the position to understand what you need from them and how they need to respond. And I'm really proud of that part of our football team and the things that they've done. Again, not that show up to anybody watching, but to what I see in the building every day.
In the fourth quarter that you're seeing,
Start again one more time.
The imbalance in the fourth quarter. Each game there's been an explosive, multiple missed tackles. What would you say is that fatigue on the defense, or what would you say is happening?
No, I don't think it's fatigue. There's definitely a moment. It's just particularly in this last game. You throw that interception, and all of a sudden I think it was 12-0 at the time. Maybe I can't remember quite exactly the score, but those are moments that can be deflating. Especially when you're playing that way. Again, playing pretty good defense for the majority of the game, and to have that happen, in that big spot where you need something to go your way to capture some momentum back. And I think that's something we got to work on, that response too. Like, we got to go bow up when that happens. But that's something that we're continuing to work on.
You said last week that this game was about who's more desperate to win. In lieu of how it unfolded, what did that tell you about your team and desperation?
I think we didn't do enough of the things that we needed to do from an execution standpoint. In the spots that were big. Again, you alluded to 2nd and 23 earlier in the game. We talked about, like, those are the things that you have to do to win games. You can't put yourself in that spot. I think we got to coach better than we did. We got to put ourselves in better spots from some of the schematic choices, and those are things that we continue to look at after every game and try to find what's our best mix of things and how do we best deploy the people we have. So I think we played really hard. We put ourselves in a spot, deep into the game where it was a one-score football game, and again, had a chance for it to be a tie game at that point, but we didn't hit the kicks that we needed to hit. But yeah, there's some things that are really encouraging about the way that they played early, and then we got to find a way to finish.
You mentioned that Thursday was good. A couple of players mentioned that Thursday was good. Does Sunday being so bad tell us that Thursday doesn't mean a lot?
I think practice always means something. I mean, it's an important part of the process, and the only way you know how to judge on where your team's at is how you practice. And that part of what we do has been really positive, and I appreciate the way the guys work. I appreciate the intensity they practice with. I mean, all the things that pointed to a winning style week, we're all there, and that's the disappointing part, is to not see enough of it show up on Sunday. But how we practice is always going to be a really, really important factor in winning and losing football games.
How close was Dan to not playing? How do you think him and Ole did? And then how optimistic are you about potentially getting JC back this weekend?
Yeah, Dan was really close to not playing. He woke up in the morning and was battling some legitimate sickness, and we worked him out at about 10 o'clock-ish, 10:10, to see if he's going to be able to go. And he said, I got you. I'm going. But that was right up against the 90-minute mark that we had to turn any inactives in. So we were right up against it, and he gave it everything he had, and I appreciate that about him. For him to go out there and battle that way against the players he had to go battle against was good. I thought that he had some moments, against great pass rushers and one-on-one spots that he had some wins and he had a couple losses, and that's usually what happens when you play against those guys. Ole was solid. There's things that we tried to help both those guys wherever we could, because again, those two edge rushers are probably two of the better ones in football, and so we tried to help where we could. But I thought Ole had a solid performance. Again, still got to play better than we did up front for sure. But I thought that in a reserve role against a really good player, he had some moments that were really positive.
JC, just
two more guys. Do you have assurances that you're going to be able to see this through this season, where you're not looking over your shoulder after every Sunday?
Yeah, I don't. Whether I do or I don't, or it doesn't matter to me. My job is to try to put our team in position to win as many games as possible, and to keep coaching until the day comes that they don't want me to coach here anymore. And that's the reality for everybody that coaches in the league. You don't think too much about it. I don't look for assurances. I can tell you I've always been supported here. I've always felt like the people that I have to work with on a day-to-day basis believe in what we're doing and how we're doing it. But again, I also know how the NFL works. So yeah, I go in every day and I work as hard as I possibly can to try to put ourselves in good position, and I do that for as long as they'll have me. And that's the only way I've ever known how to work. That's how I've worked every spot I've ever been. Your assurances come from how you play and you win. That's at the end of the day. That's just how it always goes. So we got to get ourselves to that spot.
Last year there were a lot of turnovers and mistakes made in the name of trying to make a big play and get an explosive play. But this year there's been a lot fewer of those type plays, but there's also been a lot fewer explosive plays. Have you guys been more conservative by nature in your calls and how you want to approach?
I think it's a mix of a lot of those things. I think part of it's a rookie quarterback. I'm trying to make sure that you're putting them in the right spots. Part of it is, we lose our starting right tackle, 3 quarters into the season, and you're trying to help manage that, and you're trying to find ways to be explosive while trying to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. It's sort of this kind of continual flow of things that you're trying to balance, and try to run the ball to help. You're trying to lean on the running game to help a young player too. So all of it has parts where it factors in. And we've taken plenty of shots down the field. They've been called. We've tried to get the ball down the field, and whether the ball gets checked down or we have to move off our spot and we don't get the throw, there's certainly been calls that the ball hasn't gone down the field too, which is another part of it. So it's all of those things, and we're trying to do the best we can to help a young quarterback and take some of the pressure off him, while still trying to give him opportunities to make some plays down the field.
As the play caller sort of indefinitely, I guess, and if so, is there rust at all in something like that when a guy is just getting started?
Yeah, I think that's to be expected. That changes a lot about your process when you're trying to get ready to call a game. And there's some things that he'll keep growing and keep learning. And again, I don't think we're at the spot where we make anything indefinite, but I think we're just going to keep on pushing.
In terms of a positive just play, how good has he been? How good was he yesterday? And when you talk about player leadership, how much do you point to his play and hope guys follow along?
I'm happy you asked that and gave me an opportunity to point it out, because Jeff has played at a level that I've not seen many defensive players play at. He's been absolutely fantastic in every way, shape, or form you could ask of him. I don't know that there's somebody playing interior defensive line at the level he's playing at right now. I mean, he's been phenomenal. He's been super disruptive in the running game. He's getting pressure and push on the quarterback. And then I think what the area that I'm probably the most proud of him and excited for him is his leadership and how he carries himself and talks to the team. And that area of his professional growth has been incredible. it's really been cool to see that maturity process in the leadership role. It's cool. It really is. And he's backing it up with how he plays. And I point him out all the time because, you know, you got a team of guys that can play like Jeff plays. Now, Jeff's also supremely talented. He's one of the top players in his position for a reason. But he backs it up with how he works and how he plays and the effort he plays with and the tenacity he plays with. And then on top of that, he's really grown in a leadership role. So he's been fantastic.
I don't want to get you in trouble on this, but did you get any explanation on how the penalty wasn't called on the hit to the helmet right in front of you?
I did not. I made a lot of stink about it to those guys, and I kept asking them how did we not see that? You know, and those are always when there's that many guys on the boundary, and you know, there's 2 or 3 guys in front of him, and he got a pretty good shot right on the top of his head, and I was mad about it. Certainly that wasn't called. I felt like that should have been a penalty, and again, you can't control what they call and don't call, but you know, I felt like that was a pretty clear roughing the passer.
Is there a sense of hopelessness in the building, Brian?
Hopelessness? I sure hope not. I don't feel hopeless. I know that. I don't sense that from anybody that works in our building. I don't sense that from our players. Look, we're in a rough stretch. You know, we're 0-4, and that doesn't feel good. No one's excited about that, but I do feel their willingness, and you know, there's an excitement about trying to climb out of it too. There's something about that's real competitors relish that challenge, and I think we got a bunch of competitors on our team and on our coaching staff and in our building that are going to fight like crazy to turn this thing, man. That's the fun part about these jobs is you get in these adverse situations and you're trying to find a way out. And trust me, I've done it before, been a part of it before in a couple places, but that reward and that feeling there's nothing like it. And that's what keeps me going is that moment where we can find a way to get it turned is really something that you can't find anywhere, that feeling of accomplishment. And I think that's what drives us. And I think our guys are excited about the chance to go try to prove it.
Any similarities between this and the 2019 Bengals?
You know, similarity. They're very different teams in very different places. But I think, you know, we went through a similar style where, you know, we won 6 games in 2 years. And that was a really challenging time for us. It was a challenging time for Zach Taylor. And all you can do is draw back on those experiences on what got you out of it and how you got out of it. What things mattered, what things didn't, and having lived it, you know, you know what it feels like. So this is not a foreign place. I've felt this before, but again, that turn was remarkable, and it was a really incredible accomplishment, and that's what keeps us going.
Callie just said there's no hopelessness in the building. He said there's an excitement towards trying to dig your way out of this. Is that how you would characterize it?
Oh, absolutely. You know, looking over the film, all like yesterday, all the last couple of weeks, you know, there's opportunities all over, you know. There's still hope. We see things, you know, they're not getting executed at the moment, but there's chances out there. So it's all on us right now. We just got to start executing, and good things are going to start happening.
What did you think? I don't know if you saw, you know, Cam's comments at the podium yesterday with like kind of frustration levels fairly high. As a veteran, you know, can you talk to him about that kind of the situation? Any words of advice you can share with him, and you know, moments like that?
You know, I think you know, he's fiery right now. He's a competitive guy, and I know he's taking a lot of this to heart. You know, he cares a lot, and he wants to get things going here too, and he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. But you know, that's what you want from your QB. You know, he has high standards. He wants to play better. He knows everyone wants to play better, and you know, we just got to keep pushing through the week, every week, getting better. And once it starts executing, you know, we'll get going.
Since training camp, you guys have expressed confidence in your ability to run the football with this offensive line. Yesterday you had some success, but you couldn't sustain it. How do you sustain the running game to help this offense out?
You know, I think, like you said, we did some good things yesterday, which was pretty nice. And, you know, you just keep working on it. You keep pounding, you know. TP keeps running and breaking tackles, and we just got to, you know, keep ourselves in good position, you know, so we can continue that into the fourth quarter.
Like you guys are as a group as far as cohesiveness and kind of gelling at this point?
Honestly, considering everything that's happened, I'm pretty happy. You know, had a good work with Juice and Oli over at right tackle, and you know, it's really unfortunate JC's been missing time, but it's also kind of a blessing. You know, we have our other guys getting some work in now early in the season, so God forbid we need it late in the season. You know, at least people have some, you know, in-game experience. And I think each week we've been getting better and better, and that's a good thing.
You've been a part of some quality organizations, so you know what it's supposed to look like. What would you say are some of the things you may have seen here that give you a sign that this organization can get there?
I think more so than anything right now, kind of like I said, watching the film, you see the opportunities that are on film. It's just like an inch away, 1 block away, ball out on time type thing here and there. And then the opportunity is like, it's close. So, that gives you hope. So it's on us now to, buckle down, get back to work, and, get it executed.
Well, what about more from a culture perspective?
Culture, I think, is honestly really good, considering, we're in a hole right now. It is what it is. But the team, the locker room, how tight they are, there's competitiveness in the locker room. You're talking about like Jeff playing, like just dominating out there no matter what the situation. It's awesome. Other players playing really well right now. So it's right there, And as soon as like things start executing, like everything's just going to take off.
You mentioned Jeff. What did you know about him from afar, and what's it been like competing against him on the practice field and kind of seeing him on a regular basis?
Before I got here playing against him, always knew he's one of the top D tackles in the league. And then having to deal with him in practice every day, that just reaffirmed it and made my life miserable. But, Jeff, everything he gets, he deserves. He's a fiery, competitive son of a gun, and, he just doesn't do it in practice. He takes it to the game field every single week. And, it's really impressive to watch. I'm glad he's on our team.
In your opinion, Kevin, what's the key to finding success in the fourth quarter when it's fleeting so far?
I think we've done a lot of good things, for the first 3 quarters. And then the key is, now it's time to finish up both offense, defense, special teams in the fourth, get it going. And, we just got to keep putting ourselves in good positions, and, we just got to get it done.
Is there any secret, though, to carrying that over? Because you haven't been able to do it, I guess, up until now.
Yeah,
so.
There really isn't a secret. It's all about execution late in the game, and that's what we got to do. And it's as simple as that.
You guys been in the league as long as you have. Do guys look to you for some direction right now with the hole that you're in? I've been part of some very good organizations. I've been on some, rougher teams as well. And, what I keep telling them, good things happen to those who keep going. And right now it's on us. We got to keep going. Like, it is what it is, but, 0-4, it doesn't matter right now. We got to keep rolling. We keep going, and some good things will start happening. You were in Detroit when you guys dug out of that thing, right?
No, I was only there for last year. Yeah, so I came in at a good time.
With the time you spent in Cleveland, you saw the bad end and climbing out of it. Are there lessons you can draw on or maybe share with us about how that turnaround took place and how that can be translated at all?
So like when I got to Cleveland, it was the 0-16 year, and, we built the base up pretty good that year. It wasn't fun, but it was part of it. The guys never quit. Everyone kept working, and no one enjoyed it. But, that, angst and anger, it just set us up for the next year, and we were firing, pretty quickly, and it was fantastic. So kind of like I've been saying, like, you just got to keep going. We've got so many good pieces and great players, and we just got to, put it all together, and we'll go.
Did you guys see the hit that Alshire had on Cam that probably could have been a roughing the passer?
That, in my opinion, that was a shot to the helmet with a forearm, and it is what it is, and, just the league. Sometimes you get the call, sometimes you don't, and that's just what it was.
So you guys weren't given any kind of explanation on why it wasn't a call?
I haven't heard anything, but, it is what it is.
Better yesterday, despite the fact you guys are going against some pretty good edge guys. What was the line maybe doing a little better than previous games, do you feel like?
I'm just going to give a ton of praise to Ollie out there. Like him going toe-to-toe, they have some great edge rushers, and Ollie did a fantastic job, I thought, given the situation, going out there and competing. And, I was really impressed with him. It was pretty great. And then overall as the line, like, tough crew. And then, as the game gets that way late in the game, puts a lot of pressure. But I think the guys held up nicely, played well, and, just keep it rolling.
How eager are you for the interior 3 to kind of take a game over and give you guys a chance, maybe to put one away if you have a lead late?
Oh, yeah. No, there's no better feeling than, like, when you get to a 4-minute drive in a game and you're able to do the things you need to do to win. Like, it's just a great overall feeling, puts confidence throughout the whole team, and you just want to keep doing it week after week after week. And, when that opportunity comes up this year, eventually, I'm excited for us to get it done.
How do you feel like that? You're connected with Lloyd and Peter as far as working together?
I think we're doing great. Like, I think Pete is an outstanding talent, and Lloyd, his ability to move and his ability to call the offense is really fun to play with. It's a really fun interior to be a part of.
The more you play, how much more comfortable you feel like you're in the flow of the game and anticipating things better?
Yeah, definitely. Just, the more you play, the more experience you get, the more information you're able to gather, and just learning experiences. And I think I've been able to do that all throughout last year, all throughout this off season, preseason, and continuing that even during the season, and just growing as a player.
You get a front row seat at Jeffrey Simmons and what he's able to do. How would you describe the way he's dominating, and how much does that help you, do some of the things that you need to do?
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey is a great player. He's got great get off, very explosive, physical, but quick at the same time. So I think he's able to kind of use that to his advantage, going up against offensive linemen. They don't know if he's going to power or use some speed. And you saw in that one particular play, he just got off the ball and just got to the quarterback pretty quickly. So you love playing behind guys like that. It makes my job easier.
So that 17 tackles. Did it surprise you? Ever had a game, college, high school, anything like that? 17?
I've had a few like that in my college days and in high school. You kind of just get a groove going. You feel it, kind of catch a little bit of fire. And, sometimes plays come your way more in certain games than others, and I was just able to make them.
How do you feel like, as a defense as a whole, you guys kind of kept the team in it for a long time and then kind of gave way in the fourth quarter? When you look back at a game like that, I guess, what do you think about the overall performance?
Yeah, I mean, defense played a pretty solid game first 3 quarters, and then all hell broke loose in the fourth quarter, which unfortunately has kind of been the theme for us defensively this year. So we have got to find a way to, come together and figure it out, later in these games, late third quarters, fourth quarters, to how to continue our defensive performances that they've been like.
The impact of not having Tavondre there, for the last few games, and how does that impact you guys, especially inside linebacker?
Yeah, well, you obviously, love having a guy like, Tavondre in there. He's a big body guy. He plays hard, plays well, takes up both of the A gaps for you. So he's definitely a guy that you kind of miss being out there. But, I've honestly believed that, the guys that we have had in there, Shai, James, Jeffrey, just to name a few, I thought they've, played pretty solid. So, yeah.
What would you say is happening on some of those, like the late game runs, where it's an explosive and there's missed tackles, and it seems like it's like a pile up of things, and it just pops right then and there.
Yeah, I really can't put my finger on why exactly it's happening. But I do know that it's all kind of happening so fast. It's, like you said, we're playing good football, and, 2-3 plays later, and it's like, boom, there's 2-3 touchdowns. So like I said, we have got to find a way to survive these woes later in the game.
You feel like that the locker room is still pretty much unified despite the struggles this year?
Yeah, I definitely, feel unified. I don't think anybody's really pointing the finger at anybody. I mean, there's enough blame to go around. Nobody is perfect. That's why we are 0-4. But I think there's definitely a sense of the team like, we got to figure this out. Nobody's coming to save us. We're kind of tired of saying the same things after every game. Oh, we got to do this better, that better. We got to go do it.
Up until maybe just before the start of the season, it was kind of neck and neck with you and James for starting job there. What do you think from that point to now? What sort of clicked in that you've seemingly taken things up, significant level since then?
Yeah, like I said, I feel like I've always believed in myself, and I feel like I've just always tried to grow as a player, and get better. And when I step on that field, just give it my all and empty the tank. And whatever happens, happens.